It's very interesting that we're going to be doing a chat about QA, and there is a QA note taker, AI note taker in the session. So yeah. So if you just joined, hi, I'm Joel, and we're giving about another half a minute just for some last latecomers to join. Okay, what do you say? We get started?
I think we can get started and people will join. The session is also being recorded, so
Sounds good.
latecomers can attend, catch up.
Um, Okay, so I guess it's up to me right now. So people, thanks for joining. My name is Joel, and I'm going to introduce myself in a minute, or even in a couple of seconds. But um, today's topic, it's actually a topic that I've been, for a number of reasons that will be clear to most in some minutes. It's something I have been researching quite a while, quite deeply lately. And I think that it's a topic that a lot of us hear about, even talk about, but I don't think that we have thought it through to what is going to be happening. And specifically, I want to talk about the future of QA management and test management when we look into what I believe the AI evolution is going to be doing. Okay. But first thing first, because they told me that I need to be polite, who am I? If you're going to be spending some minutes listening to me. So, hi, my name is Joel. I'm a tester. I've been doing testing for, let's leave it at over 25 years. And I think that I've done almost everything that you can do in testing. I was an intern tester, I was a testing student, then I became a lead, a QA manager, director, VP. Um, I've worked in many companies, both in Israel as well as in the US, and I've been a consultant also in Europe. Um, Speaker in sessions and so on and so forth. Today, I work for a company called PractiTest, where I'm one of the co-founders of the company, and I'm also its chief product officer. That it's actually a pretty cool task because I get to talk with testers worldwide and to travel and experience what they're doing. And the whole idea is to understand where the challenges are today and hopefully where they will be tomorrow so that we can provide a solution that is going to be better and more aligned to what they need to do. And again, I try to do other stuff around the community. One of them is actually pretty cool, the State of Testing Summer Survey. If you haven't heard about it, we've been running it for, I think it's about 13 years.
Yes.
Yes, I did had it right. It is a survey that we run every single year. And I think that other than the fact that it tells you more or less what is happening around the testing world, what technologies we're testing, what are the challenges, if you look at it chronologically and you can download every single one of those 13 editions, you can see the vectors of where the world is coming, including AI, but not only AI. Just look for it or go to practice instead of testing. You can actually download it. But I have been talking about PractiTest. What is PractiTest? And hopefully most of you know, and a number of you are currently customers, but Practice is a QA management platform. It's a test management platform. And you hopefully are working with one of those, and hopefully you're working with have experience with some of them. But to me, what drives practice apart is that the way that we focus practice, we are an information management platform around testing, and maybe that's my personal view. But if you're running a test that no one cares about, why waste time running it? Meaning, if you don't care if it passes or fails and you don't need to report it, don't do it. So the way that we look at it, it's not only do we make testing better and faster and more effective for testers, but you're also going to be able to grasp everything that you're taking and use it in order to generate KPIs, metrics, and basically visualization to what's going on. So I truly suggest you take a look at it. Don't take my word for it. We've been around for quite a number of years, quite a number of countries with quite a large number of nice customers who are working with that. And again, last words, I promise. I think that one of the things we need to do as testers is always to up our games And it's not about test management right now. I think that it's about this orchestration. Everyone's using automation, everyone's using different tools, and it might be Jira or ClickUp or Azure DevOps and a number of automation tools and stuff. And we need to think not into test management, but test orchestration. How can we everything fit together and make sure that the sum of the individual parts is way bigger than the sum of the individual parts. Yeah, well, what I meant to say, but you actually got it there. So go ahead and take a look into it. And one of the things that you will see is that we're also not only a cool tool, but we're also powered by AI because, again, it's not even a gimmick. It's what you need to do if you want to be relevant today. But we're here to talk about AI, so let's talk about AI. Now, I don't want to be blunt and I don't want to be bold and I don't want to be a party pooper if you want, but AI is not new. Meaning, it's not something that came up last year. It didn't come up in the last 5 years, not even the last 10 years. If you really, really research it, and I meant it, I've been researching self-driving cars, the first one, 1986. Obviously, Mercedes-Benz, Germans, they made the first computer-based AI self-driving car. So Elon Musk, great, definitely not the first. Um, Gaming computers and gaming analytics. Okay, if you're as old as I am, you remember when I think that's Kasparov actually lost to Deep Blue, and that was amazing. It was the first time that we understood that a computer can think faster and better and deeper than human beings. And we're talking here in '97. I was in high school then. Was I? No, I wasn't in high school. Actually, I was in college. In any case, but I was young in college back then. Entertainment. I so much wanted to have an Aibo when they came out. It was way too expensive, but the nice thing about the Aibo, it was the first time that you got a toy that would actually respond to you. If you call it, it would come. And again, very, very simple AI, but it already had an AI. The behaviors were not always the same ones, and it was very, very cool while it lasts. And obviously, how can we say no? Out of necessity, even the Roomba came. And that is a robot that doesn't only map your house intelligently, but it knows how to skip stuff and learn stuff and all the time continue improving. So, not new, meaning 86, 97, 2002, definitely not in the early 2000s. And not only is AI not new, but if you think about it, if you're somehow like me, you're using it all the time. And just to give a couple of examples of myself. So I use quite a lot of ChatGPT, not because I don't speak English. Even though I'm a recovering Costa Rica living in Israel, I think that I speak well enough English. But you know what? When you're writing a long email or when you're writing some paper, you do want to get a little bit of help. And I use ChatGPT quite a lot for that. And it's amazing what it does. But as I was mentioning, we're currently in Zoom, and I see that there is an Ashwin's AI note taker author AI in the list of attendants. So there's quite a lot of AI companions even taking notes. It doesn't have to be Zoom. I don't really use it, but I see quite a lot of people using it. Even if you want to agree on it or not, but we all use Google, and the search is AI driven and it learns what you're looking for and it adapts. Obviously, Amazon, I love buying Amazon. One thing that I found is that it actually, their algorithm works. If you've noticed, when you're buying stuff in Amazon, you get at the bottom of the page two different lists of items. One of them is stuff that might be related to what you're looking for based on your profile, obviously, but also stuff that might be related to stuff that you bought previously. And I fall for that all the time. I usually buy stuff that I don't really need because of stuff like that. Face recognition, who doesn't use it? Who has logged into their phone lately? You just say, hey, hi, here I am, and you use it. List goes on and on. You can use Smart Complete for your browser. And if you're driving around and you use Waze or Google Maps or anything else, everything's AI driven. If you fly like I do, you get a lot of notifications on what's going on and delayed flights or alternative flights, all AI driven. And obviously, comes without saying, Netflix. Who doesn't love the fact that when there's a new series that you should be seeing, you're going to get that recommendation in there? So AI is here all the time. And if you think about it, it's not only about writing emails, it's about making our lives easier. It's about suggesting the next thing. It's about giving us that leading edge of stuff that if you would have put a little bit more efforts into that, you might have thought about it, meaning I know how to drive to my workplace every time, but using Waze allows me to know if there are going to be traffic jams here or there. So there's quite a lot of different things that you can do for that, but we're using it all the time. If we start thinking about AI around software development, obviously they were the first to start enjoying AI, and they do it quite a lot. Regardless if you're using Copilot in GitHub, and again, obviously in Microsoft, or even if you're using Q Developer on AWS, AI is there. And what AI is doing mostly for our developers is giving them a hand. Again, it can help you to parse over the code and automatically write some unit tests for that. All unit tests, no. Most complex unit tests, no. But it does unit tests. And let's be clear, the fact that we have AI automatically writing unit tests is bringing up the number of unit tests that we have running in our products. And it's automatically, without even thinking about it, bringing up a little bit more stability. I'm not going to say quality, but a little bit more stability into what we're doing. Generating code is something that you also do, and I've had some very long conversations with people about it. I have a friend who works in um, kind of biology and genome development and stuff like that, and he tells me, "Hey, I stopped writing functions. I always go to ChatGPT. We get the functions." I said, "Hey, and you just plug them?" He said, "No, that would be dumb. Meaning, you go over that, you get those initial results, and then you wiggle it and you adapt it to what you're doing." So I think that is the good way of using AI. Everyone who's trying to do ChatGPT development, at the end of the day, you just get a very bloated and buggy product, but it's a very good way to start. By the way, I my daughter is learning computer science in high school. And one of the things that we do whenever we're writing a function that doesn't work, we just feed it over to ChatGPT, and usually it brings us the bug, a static analysis code, and gives us bugs. So it's actually pretty amazing. Issues in the code, as I was mentioning right now, optimizing and refactoring code if you could be doing stuff better, and the list goes on and on. But as it's usually the case, our counterparts in the development world got there first and they're taking advantage first. That doesn't mean that we're not taking advantage. If we think about AI around testing, I think that the most problematic aspect of it is that up to now, because of a number of reasons, AI has been focused around automation. Now, in the past, I've worked for a number of tool development companies. PractiTest is not the first one. And I used to work for a company called Mercury Interactive back in the day. If I'm saying how old I am, then so be it. And I remember that the amount of money that you would spend on automation licenses would be way bigger than what you do in test management license, and for load testing actually goes up. So if you're wasting more time, spending more time on automation, then it was kind of obvious that automation would get the benefits of AI before. But I think that it's not about getting most of it. By far, most companies are only doing that. And I don't think it's great. It's bad. It's actually great because we're getting more robust tests. If you think about it, tests are still somewhat flaky, but they're becoming more reliable because we're using AI. And sometimes even faster to execute it because the way that we're doing. Uh, all the introduction of visual testing to help us to validate everything that we're doing, it's actually better. It's the algorithm is good enough, is strong enough in order to understand if something was moved or shifted. It's going to be better. Cross-browser testing becomes a win with that, so actually very, very nice. And all the self-healing revolution, I'm going to say that I'm still a little bit waiting for it to be better, but it's getting there. The way that I can write a test, and if my UI is modified, the test will at least suggest to me stuff that I could be doing in order to make it continue to work. It's better. It's better than what it used to be, and I think that we're taking great advantage. But unfortunately, most of the stuff related to AI has been going around only. By the way, sorry, there's an ambulance next to me if you hear that. But it's been around that. Having said that, we're starting to see AI in other areas. And you know what? We can actually talk about stuff that we're already doing. We're using AI already in practice in order to generate test cases, manual test cases, that is. And how does it work? Well, not that hard. Meaning we can analyze a user story, we can analyze a requirement, we can even analyze the description of a test that you wrote by yourself, and we can use natural language algorithms in order to provide you steps to write. You could be doing it right now with ChatGPT, but you could be doing it without the tool itself. And it's not only about that. It's about, for example, how you can it's not instead of the testers. And we released this feature some months ago, and I thought that we would get more pushback from people not understanding what we wanted to do with the system. But people actually understood it. It's not about replacing the testers. It's about giving you a head start. It's about making sure that even if you don't have a lot of experience testing, you're going to get those initial 12, 13 steps, and you will be able to optimize them if needed be. The trivial stuff, you're not going to be forgetting about it. Okay. It gives you more structure. It gives you a little bit more detailed steps. And one of the things they're actually doing around AI, it's not only working on new test cases, but how can we improve them? Fact of the matter is, a large percentage of testers are not native English speakers. Their test cases are not flawless. So can we use AI in order to make their tests better? Take out all sorts of mistakes. Can we make the tones better? Can we shorten the steps? There are quite a lot of stuff that we're actually doing. So I think that is the first step. And it's kind of a trivial step that we're doing. And you can already see it in our tool. There are other tools that are doing similar stuff, but it's a very, very nice first step. The stuff that goes beyond the nice task or the simple task or the trivial task, and this I need to say we've only seen it in our tool, and I'm happy because actually we thought about it, but the response from the field has been amazing. Is something, for example, that we call the value score, and let me explain a little bit about the value score here. The value score, it's not a score in the sense that it's not a grade. Okay, if you have a test library, let's say that you have right now 20,000 test cases on your repository, or 2,000 or 500, doesn't really matter. But do you really know which are the test cases that are giving you the best value? The ones that, if you need to choose to run out of this list of 10, the first five, which ones should you be running? So all of us have a gut feeling about it. The higher you are on the rank, the more experience you have on your project, you'll have a better feeling about that. And we're using that approach in order to give you an idea of which of the test cases you have are going to be giving you more value. What do we mean by that? A test case that is finding more bugs is more valuable than a test that is finding less bugs. So that can increase the value score of one versus the other. A test that it's sometimes passing and sometimes failing is more interesting, more valuable than a test that is all the time passing. And so the area that you might be working is more stable. Whereas, by the way, if it's a test that it's all the time failing, it's also more valuable if you pass or fail, because if it's all the time failing, maybe it's a place that it's not very interesting, so we don't care if it fails. A test that appears in more areas to be run, a test that is run more often, a test that is updated more often. So there's no one parameter, and each parameter will be independently valued. But the idea is that we can go over your project, look at the execution data, and give you an idea of which test is more valuable than other ones, using, again, machine learning and AI algorithms, where the idea is to optimize your test cycles. If you're short on time, what should you be doing? By the way, many times at the end of the cycle, we ask ourselves, should we be getting rid of some of the test cases? Maybe this will give you an idea. Or again, at least to give you visibility into what's going on in there. And here we're talking about the initial things that we're already doing around AI in the system, but not only. If you think about it, and again, I cannot go into details of our roadmap. Obviously, I already saw at least two people from our competition in the webinar. Hi, how are you? But the idea is, how can we make AI work for you? Imagine, Waze is not about driving your cars. Waze is about telling you how to drive better and more efficient. How can we do that around testing? So let's talk about what is coming next on AI, not in testing, but in test management. And again, I'm talking about stuff that, as I mentioned, not only my researching and talking with a lot of people about that lately, but these are plans that we already have. So let's talk a little bit about suggestion. Can we look into a test case, look into the runs of your test cases, look into the different requirements that you have been having lately, and suggest maybe to add other steps into that? Maybe build for you regression suites based on the different user stories automatically based on the data that we have. So how can we make that part of the process, again, better, faster? And obviously you can say, but I know how to do it. Yeah, but do all your testers know how to do it? Are you infallible? Can we do it better? Think about bug reporting. How many times don't we get those comments from developers, your bug doesn't have all the data, or I didn't understand what you were writing about, it's too complicated. And then you read it again and say, what was I thinking about it? So can we use AI in order to report better bugs, to make them more readable, to make it more structured, to make sure that you have all the information, because we can look into the test that you're currently running, find stuff like the operating system, the browser, the parameters, the builds, make sure that that is already reported automatically in a readable subject for your users. By the way, not only that, can we suggest to you as you're reporting the bug that maybe it was already reported by someone else? So let's make sure that we can use AI in order to do that. Something that is not 100% related to practice, and we have some partner companies already doing that. Can we generate better testing data? But not only around testing data, can we look into all your test results and suggest to you which graphs are more interesting, what information might be more interesting to your stakeholders? We want to make sure that not only is your testing better, but you're going to be able to make better use of your testing data. Can we go over all your bugs and show you trends? Can we look into interesting focal points? Can we find patterns around the data? All of those are things that not only are we thinking, but we're actually planning on doing it. And if you think about it, it doesn't have anything to do with automation, thank God. Can we talk about risk analysis? Can we go over your user stories, analyze them, and show you similar user stories in the past and show you how you tested them, do a little bit of bug prediction. How many bugs should you be finding for similar stuff? How much time does it take you to test? Oh, when you're testing a user story like this, you usually run your test cases 2.7 times versus a user story like this, you run your test cases 1.3 times. Okay, due to instability in the code. Can we do stuff like that? Can we talk about timing? Can we talk about predictions in that? Those are things that we already saw, and I'm not going to say it's easy to do, but it's doable with what we have. People are asking us to do, can we create a little bit more automation scripts based on your manual test cases? We already saw a couple of demos on the ability to use ChatGPT in order to generate at least simple code based on what you already have in there. So it's something that we might be exploring in the future. And obviously, autonomous execution. If you already wrote it, can you actually run it? Can you use the self-healing scripts in order to optimize and to work around flakiness and stuff like that? We're going to be working around those stuff. So if you think about it, what AI is going to be doing, we're not going to be doing our jobs. We're going to be doing our jobs better. We're going to be doing our jobs easier. We're going to be able to free ourselves in order to have those conversations with developers and understand features better, or go out and work with customers to understand what's going on. All of those stuff are things that we're going to be doing. And that actually brings us to the next part. So AI sounds wonderful. If my boss sees this presentation, he's going to fire me because in 5 years I'm not going to be needed anymore. Yeah, no. AI is not going to be able to ever, at least in the time being, in the next 10 years. Hopefully, we will be drinking margaritas on the beach by then. It will never be able to give you the big picture. It will never be able to look into something and analyze other areas, talk to your support team, to your customer success team, to tell you, hey, you know what? This bug might be more important because we've seen that stuff in the past happen some other places. That is something that we still need that human factor in order to do it. And we're still going to be needing to do that quite often. AI is not going to be able to look for those unique anomalies. Exploratory testing will always be important. And I remember people that those discussions years ago saying, oh, you need to do either exploratory testing or scripted testing. No, you use them both, because you have scripted testing in order to test the main path, and then you do exploratory testing around the edges in order to find the stuff that is a little bit more interesting, a little bit harder to find, but you need to do both. Okay, yes, in theory, you can do only exploratory testing. In theory, you can do only scripted testing, but fact of the matter is that it's more valuable to do both of them. The same goes for AI. So we might get to the point where AI will do the trivial verifications, but the real testing is something we will end up doing ourselves, because we do have that unique eye for anomalies. And obviously, AI will never help us make decisions, because there is no release going out without bugs. There is no clear-cut definition what makes a showstopper and what doesn't make a showstopper. So we will still need people to get that information that has been reviewed and analyzed by AI and making those hard decisions on how are we going to be, do we even want to release or not? Are we good enough to do it? Do we need to do something else? How can we learn from our mistakes? All of that will actually come still from us and not necessarily from AI. Now, being this the case, and this is something that I was asked by a relatively young tester in a company that I was talking about this. He said, okay, so the future is green, right? Meaning nothing I can do about it. And he couldn't have been farther from the truth. Yeah, of course, it's not going to be the same future, but there are quite a lot of things that you can actually do about it. You can prepare for that. You can start by saying, hey, you know what? AI is a tool. I need to learn tools. Just as when I was doing testing the first 5 years, I was afraid of using automation. It looked to me very complicated. I don't know, rocket science or stuff. I was an industrial engineer and this was computer science. Why should I do it? But automation is a tool. At the end of the day, I learned how to use it, and today I use it quite often, and it's good because it's one of the tools that you actually use. What you need to do is you need to find ways to, even today, include AI in the stuff that you do day in, day out. And talking with some of our customers, they're already doing it. They're using AI in order to analyze user stories and maybe find issues or issues of incompleteness in the user stories. And then they talk back to their product owners and they tell them, hey, you know what? This user story, we analyzed that it's missing the testing definition, or it's actually counter going with something else that we wrote somewhere else. So you can still use even the simple things like ChatGPT. You can actually go ahead and use them for that. There's quite a lot of people who ask, how can we test AI? And my answer for them is go ahead and research it. There's quite a lot of stuff in there. But if you think about it, testing AI is testing at the end of the day. You have your scenarios, you have your expected results. How can you map what is that expected result? How can you actually map those scenarios and work with that? So it's just like when you need to learn a new technology to work with that. So try to understand how to actually work with that. As I mentioned, AI is not going to be taking care of all the hard decisions. Critical thinking is still something that I don't think we've got anywhere near the place where AI is going to be helping us on that. So critical thinking is always good on what you do. And focus on how can you, instead of using AI as the only value, think how can you use the results of AI in order to provide more value? How can you increase the value of what you're doing by leveraging AI into what you're doing in there? Okay, so it's one of the big things that you do, and obviously choose the right tools to do AI with. And yeah, I'm not biased at all, but hey, we have it in practice. So if you want to take a look, it's actually something that you can do. So today's not a very, very long chat, but just to wrap it up and then open it for questions, comments, or experiences on the chat that we have in here, we need to understand that AI in testing has evolved quite a lot. It's not what it used to be. It's not only about automation. It's not only about unit testing. We're talking here about prioritization, test management, generation, something that it's already happening. You need to wait for that. It's a very powerful tool that it will become even more powerful, but it's going to work with us, not instead of us. It's going to work for us, not against us. It's going to make our lives more focused. And maybe we might need less testers in the team because we will be working more efficiently, but we will need to do harder testing because all the trivial tests will already have been done by something else. It's not something that AI can replace. And just as with every tool, just as with every evolution, this is not a revolution. We have been using AI for quite a long time. It's an evolution of what's happening. Either you take advantage of it or you become irrelevant. So just as automation was an evolution, and just as, I don't know, exploratory testing was an evolution, and those of us who went along with that and learned that actually became more valuable, the same goes for how can I apply AI into my everyday roles. So it's not about working with AI, it's about mastering into our advantage. And I think that I gave already a couple of examples on how to do it. And keep your eyes open because it's going to happen very fast. And I foresee that in the next 2 to 3 years, it will become even a more important part of how we do our work. Not that you cannot use it today, it will become easier to do with our work. So with that, I want to thank you for your time and open the chat for questions. And again, we have the webinar chat. If you have any questions, just go ahead and ask them, and I'll be happy to answer if I know how to answer them, obviously. Okay, first question. Do you expect to see progress on automated accessibility testing, checking if the application conforms accessibility guidelines? Dirk, that's a great question, and it's not a new question. We have been having systems that started as crawlers, depending on the technology that you were using. I remember even back in, what is it, about 2005 already, I was using some tools for accessibility testing. I think that it will become more automatic, as you're saying. It's something that you will just point towards a tool and it will know how to do that and provide you um, those results. I think that there's quite a lot of tools like that right now. The interesting part will be when we will be able to have it as part of our um, development environment. And so it will do it automatically as you're writing the code. It will tell you, hey, you know what? You're missing here's some accessibility guidelines. It's only color coded, or you're not going to, the labels are not right, or stuff like that. So I think that it's making progress. I actually think that we saw quite a lot of progress early on in accessibility testing. Um, but yeah, I think that there's still some way that we actually make more progress on that. But thanks for the question there. Any other questions? Any other observations, by the way? You don't necessarily need to agree with me. You can disagree. It's even better sometimes. Okay, we're going to give one more minute, and if not, then we can just break for coffee. So, jokes aside, check it out. Meaning, if you want to see how AI works in reality, you can start working with practice right now. We have a free evaluation just if you want to take a look into it. But it can be as simple as opening ChatGPT a free account and just use it for what you want to do today. You can feed it data and ask it for insights. You can do quite a lot of things already in there. So it's really about how can we implement it better. Oh, there's a question here on the Q&A. Oh, so I don't think I heard a response. I asked. There's a question here. Someone put this on the chat. I don't think I heard the response. Do you expect to see progress on automated accessibility testing? I think that I already answered that. So hopefully you did listen to what I said. There will be progress, but in the case of accessibility testing, we've done quite a lot already. So I think that you can see more about that. Okay. So from our end, I think that we covered what we wanted to cover. No, anything from your end? Not from the side of Noah, and I can tell you, don't tell anyone. She's a little bit sick, so maybe she doesn't want to speak because her voice is not as musical as it usually is. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that it was helpful, and expect to see more. I think that we're going to be revising this session in about 9 months once we have a lot more to share with you. So stay tuned, and a lot of cool things will be headed your way. So thank you very much for your time, and see you around. Bye bye.